heavy hitter. Suckers.
I don't even know how to introduce this young lady, but she's dear to my heart. I've seen her grow and blossom into this beautiful, beautiful plant. I'm not even going to say flower because flowers die, but this beautiful plant, and there's so many stems and branches and all kind of beautiful things that she's doing. What happened to the music? Keep playing the music. Keep playing the instrumental. And I'm just so proud of her. And she's the founder of this incredible movement called Black Girls Rock. If you don't know who I'm talking about, it's the world famous Beverly Bond. Wow! Beverly Bond!
Amazing.
That was so poetic enough. I appreciate it.
I try, my love. Like with you, you're a hard act to follow. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
And for you, this should be a welcome home show because this is a heavy hitter show, and you are officially a heavy hitter.
Absolutely.
You know, never left. You know, I was waiting for this day because Kanye West is a heavy hitter too. Yep. And when Kanye got really famous, Kanye stopped getting on the conference calls. He stopped coming to the meetings. Right. So then Beverly got famous, and I said, "What's up? You're not coming to the meetings no more? You're not?" She's like, "I'm doing like Kanye. When Kanye got famous, I'm famous now." So she's put in all this incredible work and created Black Girls Rock, and I'm so proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Really, for real. Like my heart is pounding with joy. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, ladies, we here. You guys wanted Beverly Bond here, and she's here. Ask the questions.
I want to hear.
And I'll tell you guys some stories.
Yes, I want to hear the story of how you got to be part of the Heavy Hitters and how you made that happen, your DJ career, how it started.
Yeah.
Wow. So
she's the first one, guys.
Yeah. What was the first woman?
Right.
I actually thought at the time when I started DJing, I thought that Funk Flex was going to pick me up. In my mind, I was going to be in a DJ crew, right?
Right.
Really, I didn't want to be a DJ when I started. I just really was a music enthusiast. I was a record collector. I was the person the DJ played for. I was a dancer. I was the person the DJ would try to keep in the club. Like, let me throw this on. So, it was an accidental career. I wasn't trying to be a DJ. I was moving to LA. My friend Wood Harris was like, "Bev, if you move out here, you have to have hobbies because you have to have something to do." Like, for example, him and Saul Williams at the time would do poetry readings. And I was like, well, I got records. Let me just bring my records out and I'll spin some records at the after party for the poetry reading. So that was my big goal for DJing. But I like to be great at everything I do. So I bought my turntables in November of '99 and started practicing. And I realized that I was nice because I always hung around DJs. Right?
Absolutely.
And I had already gotten these lessons, but I really never applied it because I never thought, I always thought being a DJ was a huge responsibility. So it was never something I wanted to take on. But in preparation for moving to LA to DJ these after parties at the poetry readings, I was like, well, let me see who will let me come in. After I practiced, I practiced and I was like, oh, I'm nice, right? So then people were like, oh no, you're playing hip hop and house, and when you play hip hop and house, all the records match up, so it's easy to keep your beats per minute. It's easy to keep it matched up. So they were like, you're really doing it when you learn how to play, when you learn how to mix with soul music, because the drummer is keeping the time, and if you're not keeping up with that, then you're not really doing that. So I started practicing on soul music, right? So everything I did was practicing on soul music. I had a lot of friends that were DJs already, and I started asking people if I could open, and nobody cared about the opening DJ because at the time nobody went to the club that early, right?
So he's a hustler.
So I was doing people favors. So and all this was just to get the practice to be ready for LA for my little after party thing.
Right.
So I asked these brothers that did this place called Spy Bar in Soho. Cordell and Everton, and it was DJ Kaori, another female DJ that was spinning there. She would always send her guys to go open for her, everybody was like, you want to do it? Do it, right?
Right.
But no one took me seriously because they thought that, I remember when I told Joyce I was spinning Jazzy Joyce, and Joyce was like, Bev's doing her little DJ thing. And I was really, mind you, I didn't see the big career. I was just practicing.
Yeah.
So I go into this club in January of 2000, and I knew how to DJ in my house, but I got to the club and I was like, oh my God, like this equipment is bigger than what I know. So I got in there and the manager was treating me like, this modeling DJ, she don't know what she's doing.
Right.
And my boy Hot Day came with me, right? So I was a little nervous, but he was like, no, Bev, it's the same thing. It's just they got better stuff than you got, right? So I said, okay, cool. So I started playing, and then the next thing I know, the manager came back to me afterwards because his man was a DJ, and he was like, tell him how long you've been spinning. And I was like, well, tonight's my first night in the club. He was like, there's no way that this is your first night in the club. I was like, yeah, it is. And he couldn't believe it. But I was already really preparing for the career before I actually started doing it. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't sound like I was new. By the third week, Angie and Enough had their birthday party. So back then, people didn't pay for their own fabulous parties that they're having now. They would just do the early part of the night at the club that was popping, right? So suddenly, all of these people from the music industry come into this party that I'm DJing at.
Wow.
And so everyone was like, DJs, we love music, right? And so I'm digging in the crates because what I figured out early as the opening DJ is that I had more room. I had more room to experiment. I had more room to flow. And so I was like, I'm not going to play, one, I can't play the hits because that's what the hot DJ is going to play, the main person. But what I can do is make this beginning part more interesting than people are making it. And so I would listen. Part of my practicing was also going out and listening just to the opening sets, just to how DJs opened and what they were doing. So I was really, I took this whole thing seriously. And again, all I wanted to do was DJ that after party in LA. I had no big plans for this thing at all.
Amazing.
And so by this third week, when Angie and Enough came, Jay-Z was there, all these people were there, but all of the music industry was there. And so everybody was like, who is playing? And they kept coming up because you couldn't see the DJ, you could only hear. They kept coming up to the top to the DJ booth, and then they would be so surprised that I was a girl. So they were like, you got to go see the DJ. So then it was like, on people coming on top of the top. It
was like a freak show almost, right?
It was kind of like crazy, but it was so, for me, it was so wonderful to have, one, people there in the beginning, but two, just having so many people appreciate what I was doing. And so I remember coming downstairs and Jay-Z telling me he liked the way I played. And then Enough told me he liked the way I played. That was all I heard from Enough, right? I didn't know Enough was checking and watching and paying attention to my career as it grew. My second big thing was D'Angelo's Voodoo album release party. I did the VIP room. Mark Ronson did the main room, and I did the VIP room. My friend worked at Chiba Sound where Mark was signed at the time. She was like, Bev, you're like a real DJ. And I was like, no, I'm not.
How's that, Jazzy Joyce, right?
No, but Joyce is actually our very first honoree for Black Girls Rock. But
that's amazing how it all comes full circle, right?
Yeah, and so I think that Enough, one day he decided that I was a heavy hitter.
One day.
But he didn't tell me. Everybody was telling me that, I think Enough's telling you about you're going to be a heavy hitter. He never told me. He announces it on the radio, right?
Oh my God.
So people are calling me like, yo,
that's
you're
even better.
Well, it was so cool.
Yeah.
I remember I was on the phone with someone in the music industry, and it was a rapper, and I guess he wanted to be a heavy hitter. I'm not going to say no names.
Who, Kanye?
No, it was not. It wasn't Kanye. Oh. But when I said, oh my God, they're calling me and telling me that Enough is making me a heavy hitter. The phone went silent. And I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. So anyway, that was, Enough finally called me and told me, he's like, look, I got to meet with you. And then it was a cold winter day. And I think this happened, maybe it must have been at least March or maybe sooner. I'm not sure. But it was still cold. It was a cold winter day. He was with H. Pat. They came. They met me on the corner with like drug dealers. We had on our big bubble coats.
North Face.
Yes, we really came outside for the meeting. It was such a memorable moment for me. And he was like, I've been watching you. I've been paying attention. I love the way that you play music, and I love the way that you love music. And you remind me of why I love DJing. And I'm gonna make you a heavy hitter. And I was like,
Just
yes,
like that.
But you already announced it on the radio.
Just like that.
Yeah.
I forgot to let her know.
Yeah, and I forgot to let you know, but I'm letting you know now. So it was such a great moment, and I treasure it. And I will say that when people believe in you like that early on in your career, it helps to boost your confidence to your next best thing, your next greatest thing. So I credit you for being a part of my journey and a part of my growth and a part of me going to my next level. Thank you.
Thank you. That's amazing.
This is
Dan,
great.
that's a great story.
I love this.
All right, we're gonna play some more music, and then we come back. We're gonna tell a couple of stories, and then I want to know. I mean, I already know, but I want to know about Black Girls Rock.
Yeah.
I want to dig deep into Black Girls Rock, and where was the turning point when you said I have to do this?
Right.
All right. Shade 45. Asuka, you got some more? You got some more sweetness for me? Keep rocking, y'all. The Shade 45 on a Monday night as we celebrate Women's History Month.
What they talk about? What they talk about? Like, what up? Get money. Yo, it's a little beat I'm gonna get y'all. A little beat to y'all.
Float on. You see, that's what I'm talking about. Who plays Organized Confusion?
She does.
You do. Amazing. I like that.
I like to mix the old with the new.
Yeah, great vibes right there. I like that. Shade 45 on a Monday night. My name is DJ Enough. Follow me at DJ Enough, DJENUFF. We're here with the world famous DJ Beverly Bonds. Black Girls Rock. Now, I know a lot has happened since you started with the heavy hitter movement. And I was reading an article on you recently, and it talked about how sometimes being in a man's world, it could be rough being the only girl on the team. And I know, even though we are heavy hitters, and there's been some rough times that Bev has had being part of the heavy hitters, because it's
I didn't have rough
was
times. I had one time.
No, not I don't want to say rough times, but I think what I'm starting to realize with this conversation, because of what women are actually doing, I think it's our responsibility as men to listen, but then talk about it amongst ourselves, because when I look back 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, a lot of people weren't moving right. So, and that's why we're asking the rappers now. That's why we're asking people who are male, like, are you guys moving differently now? Is there, not to say that you have to or whatever, but just think about it.
Are you just more conscious of what you're doing?
Yes, think about it. And this all starts not just because of the Me Too movement or whatever, but I think bigger than that, Bev has something that empowers women to feel like they're rock stars also. And why don't we just talk about that real quick?
Okay.
Black Girls Rock.
Yep.
When, how, and why?
I started it back in 2006, and I think that, and we spoke about this, and I remember when Don Imus called the Rutgers women's basketball team nappy-headed hoes, and
I remember
followed by a Oprah special where she had rappers on talking about the images of women in hip-hop, and they had the women from Spelman on, and there didn't feel like any justice to the conversation. There didn't feel like any balance to the conversation. And it was right around the time, I think, that we were all always talking about issues of women of color and the representation in media. But I think that there were many things. There were many factors. And I think what was surprising to everyone is that, I was a popular DJ. I was the it girl. And no one expected me, and I didn't talk much, I didn't talk at all. So no one saw me building this thing. And I like to do what I do instead of talk about it. But I knew that this would be impactful because it wasn't something that was saying, you're so wrong and I'm pointing the finger at you. I just wanted to offer another message. I wanted to offer another voice to the conversation. And I thought Black Girls Rock, which originally was my T-shirt idea, was a bigger affirmation than just me making money off a T-shirt.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know,
There was a whole nother thing.
Yeah, and I knew that it would matter. I knew that it would empower us. I knew that it would make a difference. And I knew that it would be impactful to not just Black women, but to all women, speaking out against things that people are starting to speak out about now. You know what I mean? When you see Time's Up and Me Too, we've been doing this. You know what I mean? We've been talking about this. We too are victims of sexual assault in ways that, in numbers that are alarming. And so I think that just a combination of a lot of things. I remember a record promoter, a friend of all of ours, probably you know how they gave us the records that they would roll up on the parties and give us the records. This is when we were on vinyl, and so he had the R. Kelly mixtape in his. I'm not sorry, not the R. Kelly mixtape, the R. Kelly tape, right? And he was handing it out like it was the new Jay-Z, and he was like, "Yo, Bev, you got the R. Kelly?" I'm like, "Yo, dude." And it wasn't until I said it to him. I said, "Why would you what? I don't want to see that."
Yeah.
This was during that time when the whole
and it
scandal
was like
going on. Right.
And it was like, I don't want to see that. And why do you want to see that?
Exactly.
Like, question yourself about this.
Why doesn't
And
it
when I
bother
said
you?
that to him, he was like, "You know what? Nobody ever said that to me."
Yeah.
Like, no one, it was just like a frenzy that was going on, and everybody was just kind of part
following
of the frenzy.
it. Yeah.
And no one thought about what you were actually engaging in. And then so when I said that to him, he got rid of it, and he just threw it away. He was like, "You know what? This ain't even a part of the music. And like, I mean, it is, but that ain't it." You know what I mean?
It's not. It's not. So why are you trying to sell that?
Yeah, and so I think that, I just think that my unique position of being a DJ, coming from modeling, paying attention to the messages, the images, the limited space that Black women were able to occupy, paying attention to all of it and understanding from the women that I knew, from the women that inspired me, from the history that I knew, I wasn't seeing accurate or enough representation, and I didn't really love the way in which we were being represented in this very small, narrow, objectified way, or just absent, And then you got to think about what bothered me most was thinking about how little girls would interpret what was happening, interpret these messages.
Right.
And I was like, I'm a grown woman, I can navigate this. But I'm not sure what little girls think when they're told that something's wrong with their aesthetic, something's wrong with their presence. And even with Black Girls Rock, with our mentoring programs, we have girls who have suffered through that, we had one girl who was actually putting Clorox bleach on her skin. She thought being born in a Black girl's body was a curse automatically. Wow. And it wasn't until she encountered Black Girls Rock that she actually started to feel okay about who she was.
That's crazy.
And I think about you remember the Dave Chappelle episode where he talked about the blind Black man?
Yeah.
And it was brilliantly done, right? So he talks about this blind Black man who grew up in a racist white town in the blind school. And so in this town, everybody was racist, so and he couldn't see.
He thought he was white, right?
Yeah, so he didn't know he was Black, right? And as he heard all of the racist jargon around him, he internalized it, and he grew up and became the leader of the white power movement, right? But what it was his perception was warped because he couldn't see. He couldn't see who he was, and that's how I equated. I was like, we couldn't see because there were too many things that were telling us another story.
Right.
And so I think that Black Girls Rock has been able to penetrate and really shift the narrative and really be part of the paradigm shift, and a big part of it, that is causing all of this, empowerment for women all over the world. And I love what I'm seeing. I love that we happen to be a part of this change.
It's the most searched thing on Google right now. Women everywhere are searching how to drive, how to be better at things, how to get a job on my own without a husband, all these things. It's like in Saudi Arabia, how do I learn how to drive? It's going crazy. It's really the most craziest thing right now with women. So I love it. Yeah.
Bev, when did you know that my movement has made it? What was the moment that was like, I don't know if it's a person you met or someone who got down with your movement. Like when did you be like, because like I don't fan out on artists and celebrities,
Right.
but every once in a while I'll get that special person that's like, yo, don't you know what you're doing is this, and then I fan out for a
Right.
quick second. Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
When was that moment? Who was it?
For me, I think so. When I started Black Girls Rock, I had tunnel vision. I was not stopping. I had a passion, a mission, and a vision, right? And I was focused, and I was just doing everything I could to bring this to the forefront. Every time they would interview me about my life as a celebrity DJ, I was like, okay, but let me talk about this. So I took that whole spotlight and put it on this. I wasn't thinking about anything but elevating this thing that I was building the award show. By year one, we honored Jazzy Joyce. That was our first honoree, because I felt like the DJ needs an award.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And MC Light, those were our first two honorees. By the second year, we'd gained so much momentum that we ended up at Lincoln Center. And that's when we honored the Rutgers women's basketball team. We honored Susan Taylor, Missy Elliott, Marsha Ambrosius. There were so many women that year. We had Gabrielle Union and Regina King were my hosts that year. And so by this time, it was moving. The following year, again, we had all the celebrity presence. Following year, again, we were now TV stations are at my door trying to, both VH1 and BT were trying to get the show. And so it took a long time to negotiate, but I think in 2010, people hired me to DJ, so they hired me for the upfronts at BT. They didn't tell me we were close to finishing the deal. So we were close enough that they were going to announce the show, and I didn't know it because they just hired me to DJ. So I'm just there doing my job in rehearsal for the upfronts. That's when they announced all of the new shows, and so it comes up on the screen. And when it came up on the screen, I was like, oh my God.
He was like, wow.
Yes, I just started crying, and I had never done that because I never stopped working. I never stopped doing this thing.
Right.
But at that point, I recognized the impact that this was going to have, because I'm like, wow, it already has an impact. I was already on the Ebony Power 100 list of most influential black people
was
before TV. So I knew that this was going to change into something else. I knew that this was going to have a huge impact, and it just hit me in my heart. And Deborah Lee came up to me and she was like, did we do something wrong? And I was like, no, I just really didn't look up. I just never looked up. It's the first time I actually looked at what I did. So that was
amazing.
That was kind of the moment for me.
Amazing. All right, well, I see a big, beautiful book over there. You want to talk about your book real quick?
Absolutely. This is just a continuation of the work. It was incredible project for me. It pushed me to another level, but I interviewed almost 60 women in this book, and it's like kind of the award show to the 10th power.
Gotcha.
It's
in-depth.
in-depth conversations with so many incredible women, some you know, some you don't, but all have very inspiring stories that talk about their triumphs, their failures, their grit, their spirituality, their practice, their discipline. And I think it's inspiring for anyone. I think that people look at it and they say Black Girls Rock is for black girls, but it's not. It's for everyone. Everyone should read this book. And I think it's just, and you got women from just so many. Was
it hard picking them, or how did you?
You when you start something like this, you think, oh, let me just ask, So
Yeah.
I'm like, let me just ask Angela Davis and see if she'll be in my book, right? And then when she says yes, you're like, what?
You're like, what?
So then you ask,
Amazing.
if I ask the Williams sisters, which one will I get? Maybe one of them will do it, and they both do it, and you're like, I got Venus and Serena.
Wow.
So you do that, and then, you get people that are so busy but so giving. Like Mary J. Blige was one of the people that was just so, she gave so much because she wanted to make sure that her narrative touched the people. She wanted to make sure that,
That's amazing.
And
yes.
so many, Solange, everybody in this book, and even the people that you don't know, like April Holmes, who's the fastest paraplegic in the world. I'm not sure if she still holds the title, but she starts the thing. She didn't always have only one leg, and she says she starts her narrative with, 5 words changed my life. Did you get her leg? And then she goes into this whole story about being pinned under an Amtrak train. She was running for the train and she got pinned under it.
Wow.
And she uses this whole being pinned under a train as a metaphor to how we as people are pinned under mental trains.
Ooh.
And it's just so incredible.
Deep.
That's
It
deep.
is so dope. So that's why, I mean, I think it's so inspiring. I mean, I had an incredible time interviewing these women. I had an incredible time putting it together, doing the audio, the support, and even the reviews are just, amazing.
Well, it looks good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna go get a copy right now. We're gonna go downstairs and buy one. And Navani has a
Oh,
copy over there.
I'm like, please sign it.
I got you.
Well, Bev, I think we're out of time. That means you have to come back up.
I would love to come back up.
There's so many more stories.
Yeah, I want to hear more.
There's so
Oh
many
my
things we need to
God.
talk about.
Yes, we do.
But I want to thank you for coming through. I appreciate everything you're doing, and I wish you the ultimate continued success, and just keep making people proud, because I feel like Daddy. I'm proud.
Yeah, I know. Uncle Enough.
Uncle Enough is super happy.
I'm proud of all of us.
Is there a word you want to leave us with, or?
Yeah, well, since I'm here, our mentorship programs applications just went up today. So if you go to blackgirlsrock.org, and you have girls between the ages of 13 and 17, tell them to apply. It's a real strong leadership program. Girls come from all over the world. And the applications are open for, I believe, a month. So they have to really read through it, because there are some questions where they got to, get those answers in. But I think it's a great experience for every girl that's been in our program. So I always promote that.
All right, we thank you for that.
Amazing.
Thank you, Miss Beverly Bond.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Heavy hitters, baby. Say it one
Yes,
time.
heavy hitters for life.
Yes.
Heavy hitter, suckers.